I don't want to end here too much, so stop back and let there. Welcome everyone, thanks for coming to the Lower Landfill LLf CAG meeting for 2020. My name is Chris Wardell. I'm the EPA Clean Wellness Section Chief. And with us tonight we have a lot of both CAG members, community members, elected officials, individuals from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and of course myself and others from the Environmental Protection Agency, including our regional administrator, Greg Sofkin, who's here to kind of listen and get understanding of your questions and concerns regarding the Mountain Valley Landfill Superfund site. So kind of been used to time and kind of discussions we've had with Bonnie in terms of how this meeting was going to go. I think we'll just go around the room and introduce ourselves, and then have the Craig kind of ask their questions, concerns to Greg and our technical team members that are here as well. We just kind of have like more of a, I guess, informal / formal discussion, whatever that was. So I'll just go around the table, starting here with Aaron, unless anyone has any questions before we begin. And also, if you don't know, bathrooms are right out there. Sorry. Dietrich, Bill, yeah, can you mute your mic? So maybe one of you online? Okay, so we'll start with Dietrich, and we'll use line. Dietrich, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. I'm Dietrich McGinnis, and for the last 14 years, I've been technical support to the Citizens Group, reviewing documents, answering questions, participating in the technical discussions on the behalf of the local residents. I saw the agenda on this, and of course, being the first one out, I'm not real sure what exactly I need to do, but that's generally what we do, both Bill and I.
Great, thank you. And Bill?
Yes, can you hear me? Okay, yes, I'm Bill Fryer. I work for Dietrich McGinnis in support of the CAG. I'm a hydrogeologist, 40 plus years of experience on large scale characterization, hydrologic, hydraulic, contamination characterization. I've been working on this project for about almost 7 years now.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Aaron Dallas. I'm the branch chief for the Superfund Remedial Program here at Region 8 in Denver.
I am Lisa McLean Vanderpool, soon to be CIC, new CIC for this site. What's the CIC? I'm sorry, Community Involvement Coordinator for EPA.
I'm Sarah Teschner, and with EPA, the hydrogeologist technical.
And I'm Sean Leesky. I'm the Environmental Services Manager for the Water Department with the City of Milwaukee.
I'm Lisa Miller. I'm the new Arapahoe County Environmental Manager.
Hi, I'm Keith Mowersham, Environmental Health Manager with Tri-County Health Department.
I'm Lynn Robio Wagner, Tri-County Health Department.
Tom Butts, Senior Environmental Health Consultant, Tri-County Health.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Aquila. I'm with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I'm the Division Director for the Hazardous Materials and Waste Management.
I'm Colleen Brisman with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I'm the Superfund and Site Assessment Coordinator for the EPA.
Dr. McNeil, also with Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and I'm the new state project manager. So,
Maggie Rash, community member of the CAG, and in Murphy Creek.
Laura Dixon with Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, the Communications and Community Involvement Manager.
I'm Bonnie Reader, I'm the chair of Lower Memphis Superfund Site CAG.
I'm Tom Kraus, I'm the co-chair of the CAG.
Richard Rader, CAG member.
I'm Paulus Moment. I have a nickname, so I have to make sure I'm CAG member, I live in Murphy Creek.
Artie Sophie, CAG member, I also live in Murphy Creek.
Karen Hancock, City of Aurora Planning and Development Services.
Leah House, also City of Aurora Planning and Development.
Sharon Wilson, the community member of the Cameron Fields.
Linda Kiefer, project manager, Superfund site for PA. And I used to live next to Hampton Hills and Somerville.
Greg Sopkin, I'm the relatively new regional administrator for Region 8 of the EPA. I'm, as most of you know, I'm the successor to Doug Bento. So I have large shoes to fill, but I will tell you, we do in fact have the same shoe size.
Hi, Dave Romuth, City County of Denver, project manager.
He with the trust. Jeff Baker, Arapahoe County Commissioner. Welcome to my district. It starts at just on the other side of U-470, and it goes out past Deer Trail to the border with Washington County. This is my district. This is our fairgrounds. Welcome to the new. We're happy to host everyone here, and I'm glad that technology is working. That was my one here, and having people find where this could be held. And this is the room that we've got reserved. We did have to change, I think, 3 meeting dates, and that's be maybe discussed tonight too, because this room was not able to host the group on the regular meeting night. So I think we can go 1 week earlier if that's okay with the CAG, but that's something, you know. It isn't until June, I think, the first conflict comes up. Welcome everyone, welcome everyone.
Hi, DJ Beckler.
And frustrated by non-muted mics.
And then, David Berry, I'm the Saxon.
and I'm Steve Ford, personally in Santa Clara. Under this kind of
Great, thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. Also, you can try to speak up if your voice doesn't carry. I think some people will allow you to say your comment again. So now I'm just going to turn it over to you, Bonnie. I know that this kind of we're kind of getting started in terms of wanting to kind of open it up for the case discussion towards our regional administrator and to anyone else at EPA and TPHE that are here, and just have a discussion going forward. So again, thanks to Bonnie and also Commissioner Baker for helping find these new meeting locations going forward.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Baker. You're our hero. Thank you. I just need everybody to know that there's water and yogurt and chips and pretzels over here. Please help yourself. And what we're going to do tonight is we want to open this up. Administrator Sopkin, because we'd like you to understand who we are, why we're here, and we're going to try and keep it to a level that it won't last until past 20 county. But we're going to try and keep it down maybe 3 or 4 minutes per person. And so, but we'd like you to understand the different perspectives, and that includes the agency people as well as the citizens, because it all has to work together. And so I did bring some pictures of the site pits. People don't understand what the pits look like. They think they're just little holes, but they aren't. And those pits are still buried out there, and so we just want you to get a vision of that. So in the meantime, I think what we'll do is we're going to start with Dietrich and Bill because they're up on the street. And Dietrich and Bill will give 3 or 4 minutes who they are, what their main concern about this site is. And then we'll go on down and come around the table and maybe hopefully see if Bill, are you, you okay? What is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Bill is
Okay.
not muted.
Oh, okay, be sure and mute
Bill,
it
please
between
mute your
talking.
mic.
Okay, Bill, do you want to go ahead and give us a brief background of yourself and what your concerns are with the site?
Okay. As I started to say earlier, my specialty is characterization. Large-scale three-dimensional characterization, geologic, hydrologic, and contamination. I've worked on a lot of fairly large sites and very complicated situations. In review of this site, it seems to me, and I keep being told by the consultants doing the work, that it's a complicated site. And I have to agree with them that it is fairly complex. However, in my experience, what I've seen so far has been too simplified to actually characterize it properly and to have a good knowledge of what is going on. In the interest of modeling, it looks like a lot of simplifications have been made. Those simplifications have not been explored substantially, and there are a lot of things that can happen within those simplifications that appear to be being ignored or dismissed. So my biggest concern is to critique the characterization, both the geologic, hydrologic, and contamination extent characterization, to make sure that it meets the standards that I'm familiar with, the STM, EPA guidance, and so on.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Okay, Dietrich?
Pardon the delay, I had to turn my microphone back on. Yeah, as I said, I've been working on the site for quite a while, and I work with a number of sites, both larger and smaller. And I agree with Bill, this one poses its own unique challenges. But there is, I think, pretty solid guidance on how to manage this. My two principal issues have been first, the scope of the investigation. We're still looking at what in the north end, over half a mile between well clusters in areas that are critical to understanding what's going on. And we're still not looking at a system that I think really can look at vertical migration and even really measure it. And I think that the type of aquifer testing that's needed just hasn't been performed. I also am a little concerned about the assumptions that are made about the site. Now, reading through the latest North End report, it's assuming that migration is downward off the site when the site could be releasing depth. Something that is highlighted as early as the 94 or the first rock. It was very clear about that prospect. I'm concerned that it appears that a path was followed with the investigation that was assumed to be the path. And that assumption left out the prospect of what is usually expected in channel other channels. And the question is raised, it's even the main channel where we can characterize those releases. And I'm looking at the old maps and what the Murphy Creek drainage actually is. It makes me wonder if the study area needs to be reconsidered. So I think that's probably the biggest summary as far as what we're working on now and thinking about now as we review the documents coming from the site, looking for some insight into what is going on, particularly at the north end.
Okay, thank you, Dietrich. Okay, for those of you that are with the agency or and you feel like you don't really want to give an opinion on what your concerns are or why you're here, that's fine. But I think what we'll do is start up at the end up here with Aaron and doing this. Thank you. Does that mean you don't want to say anything?
No, sure. There's not a lot of time in 2 hours. I met with you guys in November with our deputy administrator, Devin, and I know how quickly 2 to 3 hours can pass.
Yes.
I'll reserve most of that time for you guys to get your concerns out there. As I was then, to listen, to better understand your concerns, and help work to build a better relationship between EPA, the state, the community, and all the other stakeholders.
Good, we appreciate it. Is this our new community involvement person?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Do you have something you'd like to tell us?
I know I'm just here to learn.
Okay,
Learn and listen.
Okay, thank you. Sarah? No? Sean?
Sure. So just so everybody's aware of kind of the water department's involvement, Aurora Water does provide water to Market Creek section out there. And we also are responsible for managing and overseeing all the water supply within the city, groundwater, surface water that is within the city's boundaries. We are responsible for monitoring that and managing it. So we are certainly interested in understanding the extent of the contamination and where it might be going, just as a means to ensure that our groundwater sources are not being.
Thank you. I can't see.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I've been on the job for 3 months, so I'm here to learn.
Okay.
I've read the files, but that's really not the same.
It's a complicated stuff.
Yes, ma'am. Long history.
I think Tri-County's main concern is just the protection of public health.
I can probably add to, so Tri-County is Arapahoe and Douglas County. So we're a multi-jurisdictional health department, 3 counties and 15 or 16 cities.
16.
16 including Aurora. Tri-County, has been very intimately involved with Lowry and other superfund sites that are in our jurisdiction, responding to citizen complaints 30 years ago. We do off-site sampling of the 2 Corpus residents that have wells. And we've been doing off-site sampling for the past 12 to 13 years, since 2006. And we get involved with land use, working with the cities and the county. And we're just kind of all over the board, but we are very intimately involved with both even dad's landfill inspections and the superfund site. They're separate, but they bind together.
And the only thing I'll add is, we also work closely with other Superfund sites in our community. Rocky Mountain Arson Superfund site we've been involved with since the 70s, much like this site. And I guess I look at our main role really as assuring that these containment-based remedies are protective of human health and the communities we live in. And looking at that through a little bit of the health equity lens as we move forward.
Hi, so I'm fairly new in my role. I've been in my role about 18 months, being over hazardous waste, superfunds, solid waste, and the radiation program at the health department. And I'm learning about all these great sites and all of these communities, and I'm just here to listen, and we want to see this. So.
And again, I'm calling this the self-assessment supervisor site unit leader, and I'm also in my role for about 3 months now. And so I'm also learning a lot about this site and how to go through this. And I'll be person moving forward who's going to be that's the project manager, but I'll be very involved on this site.
Dustin McFeel, this is PhD. I too am new to the project. Learned a lot in the last 60 days. And there's a steep time for that.
You're expressing a concern.
I'm dealing with the county.
Everybody, I need to hear it.
I'm sorry, I can't. I'll split all over everybody if I do. So excuse me, but.
No, go ahead.
I can relay anything.
She's not feeling well.
I understand, me either. Oh, go ahead.
Just do your best. I'm a member of the CAG, and part of my responsibility is to relay information to the community I live in, which is Murphy Creek and the residents. I am on the Metro District Board as well as the Homeowners Association Board. And so I would like to ensure that what is going on near our community is what's in the best interest for the residents in Murphy Creek, since we're the first community adjacent to the Superfund site. I've been over the CAG for, this will be 4th year, starting later on this year, we have 4th year. And we've gone through many changes, and that concerns me, because every time we get new people on board, we basically seem to start from zero all over again. And it's very difficult to keep things moving forward when you've got new people constantly having to come on board. So I'm here to relay what I've heard of PB, what I feel of PB, and hopefully we get the situation solved.
David, Mary, and here, this.
As I said, the first line supervisor, so when the reports from I'm here to support her primarily. I also have history in does, which work on the side for me. So I've been in my current position for years, so I've long, obviously, some of you go back much older than that. So I'll just echo what Aaron was saying about part of my role as a commissioner, supporting Linda and trying to make sure all the pieces come together properly, technical support, collaboration, state, community involvement, that also make sure that we're meeting your needs, and including the CAG and TAG and those functions associated with that. And so to some degree, Linda and I are also your financial and flows to make all these things happen.
So work with Janine here, and maybe just support you all, and especially those concerns about people. I want to make sure that we're hearing those concerns and we're able to support Dustin and Blaine there also to make sure that what you're saying and feeling you can adequately get. So I know Janine's been on the site for a long time and was part of it, but also just to support her and make sure that it's concerns are heard.
I'm Jan. I work with Lisa, and some of you probably know Loretta as well, who's in our department. All 3 of us are with county planning. And Lisa's actually with engineering, so we're all in the public works and development department. So one of the 3 of us will try to be at least in the meetings. Occasionally we work together. Who's going to do Chris?
Chris. Hey, Chris Well, I'm Community Involvement Section Chief. So Lisa is a new CIC for us and reports to me. And obviously, I've been new to the site, not a new CIC, but when Jennifer Harrison left, because we had to put her on another site called Smalter, kind of left, do all the void in terms of community involvement. So I said I'd step into that point to hire the CIC, which is Lisa, who's not new to EPA. So we've come with a lot of unique experiences that I'm excited to bring. You guys went for, but her and I will really just kind of be up on this as well. So if she's not able to attend a meeting, I'm not able to attend a meeting, and vice versa. So I'm really excited that you guys have access to her and myself going forward. And then obviously I work closely with Steve and Linda, and even Regional Administrator Sopkin on actually how our organization is organized. Our group is in the Office of Regional Administrator, not Superfund program, so we work a lot closely with the regional office.
I'm Tom Krause, co-chair from Thunderbird Estates. I'm going to get into a little more detail of what my concerns are. I'm a physician, a retired physician, and I'll give you an example. If I have a patient come in to me and say, I don't see well, I seem hungry all the time. I'm getting numb. I have a history of heart disease. I have a history of kidney disease. I get skin ulcers, infections easily. If I addressed each one of those problems individually, I would be addressing the symptoms. I wouldn't be helping the patient. We need to see the whole picture, and that's what we need at this site. And this patient would have had diabetes and would have died from that if I hadn't looked at try to find what the cause of all it was. And this is what's happening at the site, I believe, is that we're spending a lot of time on details of small areas and not looking at the whole picture. We don't have a good conceptual site model. We don't have a good flow model. We haven't looked at the geology enough, wells that are a mile apart and saying the plume is only in this area without trying to look at the sides of them in that mile long area to make sure there are no sand lenses or something else that are portals for transfer of contaminants out of the site. And I'm going to spend a little more time, but I put it in these words. I think that the site supervisors and planners appropriately make their decisions based on the broad directive that the contaminants must be contained. However, they then design their evaluation of contaminants to only include data that proves that the site is contained. And I don't know that that's necessarily conscious that they're doing that, but it's still happening. And that keeps us from really understanding where we're going. They refuse to use updated technology in order to understand the geology of the site. They refuse to use the 2008 EPA guidelines for the evaluation of a pump and treat site. They make assumptions verified by only one data source instead of trying to find what is the flow, what is the geology under that, and then you use your piezometers and other things and put it all together and make sure that all of them fit for the explanation instead of just using one source and assuming that that's the explanation. When data is obtained that does not fit with their assumptions, they disregard the data. Sometimes they quit using that well site. Sometimes they say that this is not a contaminant of concern. We don't have to worry about it, even if the molybdenum levels are 26 times what it should be. So it's not our problem. They don't do further investigations to see if they have something that's missed. They have a 3-mile plume of contaminants which is diluted with millions of gallons of fresh water, and now they say it's not a concern because the level of contaminants are now diluted below the required PQL. Well, heck, if you had millions of gallons of water, you had a contaminant that goes all the way out to Mississippi, and they had it above PQL before they diluted it, it still should be part of the site because we don't know that it's not going to continue to happen. We haven't looked at other reasons for that happening. We only have one. Supposedly it just was what was treated out, pumped out of the treatment plant, 1,4-dioxane before it was realized it was a contaminant of concern. They're not looking at why the contaminants at the base of the plume have increased to 200-fold since the pumping of fresh water pollutant has ceased. They're saying that we have 6 months of data, but that's not enough. Well, from what I understand, and Bill or another hydrogeologist can tell me whether or not 6 months is enough in order to be concerned about it, and enough to report it, and enough to put it in the conceptual site model. When the conceptual site model was presented to us, they didn't include it within the conceptual site model. Against all scientific principles, they say that a plume that travels 3 miles horizontally has only traveled 100 feet vertically. Well, it's supposed to go down 20 for every, say, for every 100 feet it goes forward vertically. Supposedly, hydrogeologically, it's supposed to go down 20 feet vertically. And they haven't explained why it hasn't done that. Yet they drill wells that are supposedly deep wells, they're what, 100 feet? And yet they say that, since we don't find anything more there, we don't need to go any further. They refuse to use updated technology to fully define all the sand lenses under the site and the plume in order to find and investigate potential pathways to contamination. That's what I'm talking about, that in the plume they put their series of wells a mile apart, put a dotted line in between the two, and say, that's where the plume is going. We don't have to check the geology on either side to see if it's going into Gun Club Estates or into Murphy Creek or some other place. They tell the public that there's no evidence that buildings close to the plume has any hazardous or any pardon. They tell the public there's no evidence that building houses close to the plume has any hazards, while only incompletely defining the borders of the plume, while knowing that at least the last 5-year review says protective is under investigation, and according to EPA guidelines, that's what you're supposed to say. It's under investigation. We don't know. We can't tell you if there's hazards until we actually determine the protectiveness of the site. In short, they need to refuse to do comprehensive reevaluation of the conceptual site model. They need to do that while using the most up-to-date and cost-effective technology. They need to verify their assumptions and findings in at least 3 independent techniques. And they need to do this with a scientific honesty which would bear peer review.
Administrator Sopkin, if you'd like to ask any questions, feel free. This isn't just talking at you. So if you have questions and want to interrupt, feel free.
I appreciate that, thank you. The water that we drink, the water that's available to the future generations from the aquifers. Our landfill Superfund site contains the largest amount of liquid industrial hazardous waste, 138 million gallons of any Superfund site, period. The amount is even larger than the deep well horizon in the Gulf of Mexico, based upon federal government estimates of 200 million gallons of oil spill. Love Canal disaster. Our landfill Superfund site contains 20 times the amount of the Love Canal's contamination of 21,800 tons of 21 types of toxic chemicals. That's how big the site is. Laura Landfill Superfund site continued degradation of groundwater in 2 upper bedrock aquifers, and contamination has breached the underlying waste pits. Has already occurred. That's our aquifers, that's our drinking water. Region 8 continues to allow the risk to the waters of the state, waters of the state, through their failed and ongoing failed attempt to contain the wastes. I forgot how many years, but it's been since 1990, the contamination they haven't contained.
Since the record of decision?
Since the record of decision. Okay. The 2 upper bedrock aquifers and contamination has breached the underlying waste pits. Has already occurred. EPA Region 8 continues to allow the risk to the waters of the state through their ongoing failed attempts to contain the waste. EPA Region 8 must, in my opinion, must either permanently seal the bottom of the waste bin of the entire site or completely remove all liquid hazardous waste from the Laura landfill site.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. At the risk of repeating what has already been said, I'm going to read what I wrote. I understand that it's unusual for the region administrator to have a meeting with the interested parties regarding the Superfund site. I'm disappointed to think that that is so. Why wouldn't the region administrator want to hear firsthand and know what we are aware of and what, in our opinion and in the opinion of our technical advisors, is not being done to fix this growing problem? It's not uncommon for people who have received information that does not agree with what they accept to throw up their defenses, when in fact it should be an opportunity to look at what is being said as an invitation to take a closer look at both positions and get to the truth. If it were not for this citizens advisory group, I am confident that the process which has been applied for remedy up till now would continue, and no one would be taking a serious look at the data that the WSDs want us to accept without question. Maintaining the status quo without anyone questioning the information is certainly the easiest way to handle this site. However, it is not the safest nor the most considerate, given the changes that have taken place with the chemical transport over the last several years. The CAG exists not to trouble the EPA or the WSDs, but to make sure that what can be done will be done, and those responsible for this contamination will clean it up for the safety and health of the affected communities. It is surprising to me that the EPA would not want the very best resources applied to this situation so that they could claim that they cared enough to put this one on the books as done. Our technical advisors tell us and the EPA that this site is not so complicated that it could not be remedied with current technology. Unfortunately, that current technology is not in place here, and we have heard all manner of excuses as to why that is the case. The latest 5-year review in 2017 indicates the EPA-approved containment remedy is not working. Quote, increasing values at the indicated study points do not support containment, per Dietrich McGinnis. There is no flow and transfer model to support what the EPA defines as the extent of this plume, so the plume only exists where the EPA says it exists, not where it may be. More comprehensive surveys with modern geophysical equipment may provide new insight into the distribution of physical properties in the vicinity of the containment plume. Regarding CDPHE white paper, McGinnis says, the geophysical data presented in the appendices of this report are limited in scope and are now more than 20 years old. What the WSDs are working with is a boundary that was laid out 25 years ago, but it is highly likely that actual extent and flow can be determined, and future efforts would be more likely to assure the protection to human health. What I want for the EPA is to act with the authority that they possess to get this to a permanent solution, and not be afraid to hear something that they don't want to hear, such as the study being on the Highway 30 landfill. That information is vitally important to what is actually happening to these contaminants. Even if the maps and other portions of that study are not finalized, it should only serve to rouse our technical advisors to take a deeper dive into that data and urge the EPA and the WSD to sit up and take notice and be appropriately alarmed. As my friend John Barber, who is not here, said a few weeks ago, they should lean in and say, this is not good. Instead, we witness no leaning in, and what they want are discussions and question the correctness of the Highway 30 landfill data. What we want is to be able to trust the information that comes from the EPA and the responsible parties. We want them to be forthcoming, reliable, dedicated to finding a solution, not a continuation of what has already been taking place. We need good information to make good decisions. I believe this CAG can help the EPA make the right decisions for our affected communities, and therefore this CAG will continue to be an important part of how the best and most reliable solution is reached for this site. We are the ones who live here. We face this every day, and we are well informed. There is no reason why we should not anticipate an end to this soon with the appropriate application of all that is available to the EPA and the responsible parties. And I thank you very much, Administrator Footen. I thought about it.
Well, that was fantastic. I think what I want to talk about, because I certainly can't come close to that, is a little bit of what Maggie touched on earlier, and that is 4 years ago, we had the same situation, a very full room. It was a different location. There was about 50% different faces, but it was exactly the same. 4 years ago, we had a flip chart that had a list of questions on it that the community wanted to have answered. We still have that same flip chart full of the same unanswered questions. We have old information being put on slides and presentations and given to public officials. And when we ask, how can you present that old information, that outdated information, that questionable information, that misleading information, how can you distribute that to people? We don't get an answer to that other than we're not changing our slides. So nobody is addressing the questions that we have. We're either getting marketing packed in place of a real answer, or we're getting just conversation that talks around what we're asking for, and we're not getting anywhere as a CAG. On one hand, I'm happy to see we have some new faces here. On the other hand, it's yet again, as Maggie said, another learning experience, starting from zero. And we're just going to be here 4 years from now with the same questions on the same flip chart, but it'll be 8 years that they haven't been answered. So those are my frustrations. Thank you.
Karen Hancock, the City of Aurora, Land Use Planning. As a home rule city, the City of Aurora has the sole authority from the City of Aurora. No other agency, no one else in the room that has that authority. We want to make sure that when we have development applications in the area that's, I'll say, affected by everything, because it can be perceptions as well as reality, that we understand what's going on, that we know how to react, and that we know how to keep our neighborhoods safe and economically viable well into the future. So I'm here just listening in, making sure that I can get the right information and understand the citizens' concerns and be able to take that back to my leadership so that they can make good decisions about development in the area.
Everyone, I'm Leah. I've been coming to these meetings about 2 years now, and I still feel new. There's every meeting I learn something new. There's so much to learn. And I'm here for the same reasons as Karen, to take your concerns and all this information to the city in order to try to make progress and future. For the year.
I'm Sharon Wilson. I'm a community member, but I'm also a member of the American Society of Civil Engineers. And I have recently been involved in the rewrite of the report card for Colorado's infrastructure. And as I sit here, I realize that this landfill issue could have a significant impact on many other parts of our state's infrastructure. And I don't know the grades that are going to be coming out at the end of this month, but the state's infrastructure does have some problem areas. And an issue like this could drive down the hazardous waste and environmental aspect of the state's infrastructure. And one of my other concerns, and basically why we started coming to CAG meetings, is the water. Colorado, water is the biggest issue. We're the headwaters of 7 drainages that water half the United States. And we're sitting on the edge of the largest aquifer in the United States. And that the level of that aquifer has dropped over the years. And I think if we've got a plume of pollution here, and it's close to that aquifer, and we're drawing water out of that aquifer, it's going to be just like a straw sucking that right into the aquifer. And you know, right now we may not have that problem, but if we don't address the issues that exist today, we could in the future. And that's one of my concerns. And it's not a simple problem that just a few people can address. I think the whole community has to come together and start addressing that issue.
Thank you.
Well, sure. Just let me start. First of all, I really appreciate all your comments. I joke about filling Doug's shoes, but he did set a standard in terms of coming out to hear the communities, and I'm glad I'm finally here to do that. I'm sorry if that's taken too long. I will say I've been to many Superfund sites across Region 8, and it's very important to get out there to hear what you folks have to say, because you live it. You're the ones who understand the issue more than anyone, and it affects you more than anyone. So it's very important for, and this is, this has been directed on my ultimate boss, Andrew Wheeler, as well, and one of the reasons I think Doug Benrell got this promotion is because he goes out there and talks to the communities, and I intend on doing that and continuing to do that. So that's why I'm here. Look, I hear your concerns. We want to answer your questions, and I have meetings now with my staff, and let me say, I do think you have a very good team here with Linda, with Aaron, and Sarah, with Steve. The whole team, I know these people, they work very hard and they care very deeply about the environment, about human health. And I just, what I don't like to hear is a suggestion that they don't care, because I just don't think that's true. So I will just state that up front. They do care, and they're working hard to ensure a viable solution. In terms of that, we have had a recent meeting about, you met with Doug and provided a list of questions that you responded to. I think there were 5 questions, and my staff has put together responses for those. And in addition, I believe you folks provided a map with your concerns, and we translated those into questions and answered those as well. And look, I'm not as close to the specific issues as you are, as my staff is, so I'm going to have them handle the specifics of these things. But I want you to tell me whether you feel like your questions are being answered, and whether and what you might see as flaws in the answers that were provided. So I offer that to you. Please do so. I'll have Linda talk a little bit more about the specific questions. I'm here to say we are listening. I'm I'm happy to come out here and talk to you folks and respond and address your needs.
So, yesterday evening, Chris had sent out, the questions and answers that Greg just mentioned in an email. And so that went to you, Bonnie, which I assume you sent out to the rest of the CAG.
We have copies of,
And-
some hard copies of doing this.
And the Tri-County Health, the state, the WSDs have copies too. So I would suggest, take some time to look at the questions, answers, and then at our next CAG meeting, we can go through them and discuss them in more detail. So, but our team did take a lot of time. We did have the state review and comment on them before. So I do want to mention, we have a very large team. Within EPA, there's like 5-6 people. State of Colorado has 4 or 5. Then we have our own contractors too, PWT, Tetra Tech. The work study defendants have their contractors. So I think there's probably about 40 people that work on this site in different ways, each with their own expertise. We do value everyone's input. It is a very complex site. There are many chemicals in there, as you suggested. From an economic point of view, we can only monitor for as many as we do, and it's about 50 chemicals that we monitor for. Everything we do is based on rules of decision, consent decrees. That's the information that we work off on. We don't go rogue and just do something. There's methodologies. We're constantly talking with our upper management to get their input too. In FY19, EPA's oversight costs, which includes those contractors, the state, $1.3 million was spent on this site. That does not include the costs that the WSPs incur for managing site. There are many projects that are happening. We talked about the conceptual site model that's currently under development. It's not finished. The 3DBA is about 90%. So as these projects are coming to a completion, we're making them available for public review. The North End investigation report went up on our website in early November. We got your input from the TAG advisors. The state's going to be commenting. So this is a process. It's not a simple, this is over, we're done. And it will be going on for some time. The waste is left in place. We will be monitoring it for eternity and making sure that it's contained and that people are not having exposures to the waste in any way. So we can talk about the questions further, and we'll have more meetings on that.
Well, we're thankful that we got this copy because we did try and print it out. Tom tried to print it out, it came out black. Richard couldn't read the math and he couldn't get it printed out. So we appreciate, we're very glad that because we really wanted to see what they said. So we would like to suggest that the next CAG meeting, the first part of the CAG meeting next time, that we focus on the answers to our questions. And if anybody needs a copy of what we presented to Administrator Benevento, I'll be happy. Just let me know and I'll email you everything that we gave to him, and that can be our discussion, our next CAG meeting, is these responses. Right now, we need to get moving on down.
Okay. I do want to say one thing. On our EPA website, we will be having a frequently answered questions section. So as we have these questions and answers, we'll be putting them up there so that the public can review them and see them. So we'll just keep building that as we have more questions that come up.
So what about the public comment back to your comment on your website? Will that be there?
What public?
Well,
if you're going to give the answers to the questions, will you also give a place for public comment to your answers?
Oh, yeah. Anytime you have a comment, please email me or Chris.
The public doesn't get to see that.
Just in terms of mechanics, how like official public comment, we did this somewhat similar to, I think we did it up in Butte when we were going through, wasn't an official Superfund action where we actually solicit public comment through a Federal Register notice, and all those comments are received, and you can go and look at. It doesn't say who the commenter is or not. But we did, and I can work with and Lisa and work with our website teams. You can put in like public comment for a document, and people could go in and submit comments. So I could try to figure out a way on the website to make that happen. But like the North End investigation, we solicit public comment, but that's not like an official EPA public comment period. But let me try to work with our website team or something, and I can try to have something similar where those comments can at least go on our website. So at least you can document your comments to us or something like that. I don't know if it's going to be perfect, but it's something that we did before, and it might be beneficial in this case.
I think maybe I can simplify this a little bit for you. I guess what we're looking for is accuracy of what EPA puts on the website. And we have had a complaint about the website for a number of the websites that are out, stating that there's no human exposure, nobody's drinking the water. And we have had serious concerns about that because nobody is testing the water wells to the north of Mississippi, where we know there are citizens drinking the well water. And so I think what people are asking for is if EPA is going to have a website, we would like to see the community side reflected in that website, where we can at least say we don't agree with that statement. And so I think that, and we need time to think about that. But I'm just trying to simplify what our concern is that if EPA is going to put information out, we need to find a way that the community, for instance, up until just recently in the past, maybe 10 years, EPA used to include Clean and one other groups are out there, they're citizens, and would try and include us in everything, and they would include our comments about things. And like, Linda, you got a letter from a private person saying that they were concerned about living in Market Creek. What is your opinion? Is it safe? And you wrote a letter back to that person. What used to happen with EPA's community involvement is that we were always copied so that we could give that person information as well. And so we have to see.
There's some privacy issues that have really come into more focus.
Well, at least recommend
just so you know, I cannot release private names of people.
No, it's not that's not the question. The question is, did you recommend to her that she could contact the CAG, including the people on the CAG who live in Murphy Creek, to ask these same questions?
I answered the question.
Right.
That letter went.
Right.
It
And
also
that's
went
what our
to
concern
Tri-County
is.
Health, CDPHE.
Yes,
and
I
other
got you.
entities.
I understand that. What I'm saying is EPA community involvement used to make sure that the public group's name, which at that time was Clean, which is now the Water Landfill CAG, that name was given out publicly so that people could get more than the agency's version of information. I think it would have been helpful. And so I'm just saying that it would have been, we felt that we should have been recommended as a source. That was all. So these are things we can think about. We can't solve
Sure.
it tonight. But that's our concern. In the past 10 years, the community group has not been used as a source. It's kind of not, we don't talk to them. And it's been discouraging. So I'm just saying, let's not solve this tonight, because we still have more people I'd like to hear from. And then I want to close with our suggestion for administrative supplement. This is exciting, and I would want to share it with all of you. And so if you don't mind, Dave, would you like to say anything?
I can be really brief since we're already an hour into the meeting. And I'll speak for myself and for Steve Rickle, my counterpart of waste management. We tag team the cleanup as highway. Our principal focus these days is resolving the issues raised in the 5-year review, addressing those issues, providing the additional information that is fact-based, that is science-based, and as complete as humanly possible, in provide that information to EPA, so ultimately they can make a decision on the protectiveness of the site. And then also, through that process, working with not only EPA, but with Tri-County Health Department and CDPHE in a collaborative approach. Our teams, our collective project teams, EPA, and our team, MSI, Parsons, CDM, it's a good relationship, and you can certainly see it in the past 12 months or so. We've been able to make some real progress where prior time,
My name is JD. I support the trust, so you'll see me. I've met almost all of you now at these meetings.
I'm Apple County Commissioner. I was elected in 2016 election and took office in 2017. My predecessor was Rod Bockenfeld, who's now House District 56 State Representative. One of the first things he did was brief me on the Lowry landfill and Arapahoe County's involvement in that. And in fact, I think the first citizen he introduced me to was Bonnie and Richard Rader, and who immediately gave me a large stack of documents to read through, and I had help. Our environmental manager at that time was Steve Miller, not that Steve Miller, but I don't know if I could sing, to tell you the truth, but Steve Miller, and he eventually retired, and so Lisa is on board now. I think the county sees its role in with the CAG, the work settling defendants, everyone involved, all of the health departments, as one a facilitator. We want to be involved. Of course, the site is in Arapahoe County. A lot of the residents do reside in Aurora. I think we have some pockets of unincorporated that are on old farmsteads in that plume area as well, that are on well water. Like the city and their planning department, a lot of what the county does is land use decisions. And so we have an administrative hat, a legislative hat, and a quasi-judicial hat that we wear. The 5 members of the Arapahoe County Board of County Commissioners, it's in my area, so I try to come to these every single time. And I guess legally, the Arapahoe County did the record of decision, the legal nexus.
The CDs.
Certificates of designation or record of designation, one of those. All these acronyms. Thank you for coming tonight. I think it's a sign that is wanting to engage, be open and transparent and forthcoming. I think that that's going to go really well with my citizens. And let me just say, on behalf of Nicole Johnston, city councilwoman, whose area we share constituents, and she, I think, has a conflict that prevents her from coming to a lot of these meetings. But I know she is as concerned as I am. As a representative government, we want to represent our constituents. Their health, their safety is our primary concern.
Thank you. Once again, I'm DJ, back with Congressman Ken Mott's office, here mainly just voicing, just to stay up to date on the conversation that is surrounding the Lowry landfill.
Thank you for coming.
First of all, I'd like to thank Sharon Wilson for her comment. The Lowry landfill sits on top of the Dawson Reservoir, water reservoir, and that's where it comes to the surface. And the plume went out into the Denver, where the Denver comes to the surface. So that's 2 aquifers that have potential for contamination. But I'd like to go further than that and say it's better not to just give complaints rather than not try for a solution. And I think that the major part of the solution, and as we started on it, is that we have technical meetings between the EPA, responsible parties weren't at the last, or the work zoning defendants weren't at the last technical meeting. The CAG was, the CDPHE was. But if we can create a relationship where we listen to each other and listen to the technical discussions and try to come to some agreements, then I think, we all need to be included in every one of those meetings, not just once in 2 years. Then I think that we can maybe begin to work towards a better site model. Include all the new technologies that are cost effective. You can't just go out and spend everything and come up with very little information, but the real cost effective methods. I think we can begin to get a better idea what the site is, where there may be contamination, where may be potential for contamination, and hopefully we don't find anything in any of the communities or planned development areas. But we got to talk. We've got to listen to each other.
So on that note, I'll close with my part. I live in Thunderbird Estates. My husband and I use well water. It's not contaminated yet, I don't think. I don't want it to be. I don't want anyone's water contaminated. However, it's our opinion that if we keep going down the road the way we've been going, I've been involved in this since 1974, and the pollution is further now than it ever has been. So, like I told Administrator Benevento when we met with him, I don't care what kind of a reputation Administrator Pruitt got from all the publicity. But for the first time in 30-some years, I had some hope because Administrator Pruitt sent Superfund Task Force people out here. And they were smart. They have investigated many Superfund sites. They have the knowledge. They were asking good questions. The community involvement people were asking good questions. And for the first time, I really had some hope we were going to do some really solid work on this site. Well, then, bad publicity, whatever. Administrator Pruitt is gone. But what he did accomplish was a Superfund task force. And they put together a report, and it's on the internet. And I went through it, and I asked Administrator Benevento to please see if we couldn't have some of the people, Donald Bussey, and some of the people that were out here and took a tour before Scott Pruitt was removed from his office. And Administrator Benevento said he was going to talk to them about it. But in the meantime, I looked up the task force results, and I just want to very quickly tell you that they have different goals, and they have people come together, and they did workshops on what goals should be in people's Superfund sites. And goal number 1, expediting cleanup and remediation. And strategy 4 fits the Lowry landfill perfect, and it says, use best management practices, systematic planning, remedy optimization, and access to expert technical resources to expedite the remediation. And this is Lowry all over, folks. The site characterization and remedial actions can take years to complete, especially when site conditions are complex and dynamic. Remedial activities should be continually reviewed and optimized in order to enhance the understanding of the changing site complexities and conditions. Reinforcing the need for thorough systematic planning early in the process and throughout the project lifecycle, as well as providing remedial project managers the resources for systematic planning facilitation could significantly improve project efficiencies. Further, as site work progresses, emphasizing progress review through independent Third-party optimization of the remedy and evolving site conditions can help ensure maximum effectiveness throughout the project life cycle. And this is the part I love. RPM shall utilize best science and continue research on innovative technologies and cleanup approaches while promoting best management practices for optimization activities. Remedial investigation feasibility study planning will require development of tools and enhanced communication of internal and external resources to support these activities. Recent developments in real-time investigation technologies and data visualization techniques offer opportunities to build robust understanding of site conditions portrayed in conceptual site models focused on root causes and high-value targeted remedial actions. Advances in electronic data capture and distance collaboration platforms enable project stakeholders to work as a team on RIFS and remedial design, remedial action activities, ensuring all stakeholders' concerns are considered as the work is performed. In this way, the team can focus on taking actions that drive sites towards completion. And I'm going to pass this out. This is just one section that fits on perfectly. And so we wanted to make this recommendation to you, Administrator Sutkin. And it goes on to tell the recommendations of how we can accomplish these goals. And as I told Administrator Benvento, we are not going to back off on our efforts, and we don't want to spin our wheels constantly fighting with everybody. But what we're looking at right now is our CAG spending their technical advisor money left and right doing investigations that should be done by EPA. And it's done, we're doing it on behalf of our health and the environment. It's our neighborhoods. And so we would like to request that this Superfund Task Force recommendations be taken seriously. And we would like to use it as a guide for how we move forward. And so those are our recommendations. And we would also appreciate it very much if we could be assured that at some point the technical meetings include our technical advisors when the WSDs and EPA are talking technicalities. What we're doing right now is we're spending all of our money having them investigate and follow up with comment. It would be far more efficient for us if our technical advisors could be involved in the technical meetings, making their suggestions during the meetings, rather than, for instance, the North End report was so poorly written that it took them forever to dig through it to figure out what was being said. If they were in technical meetings, the discussion could be held there. And we used to be involved in the technical meetings, but we're not anymore. And Linda's saying absolutely no.
No, I don't. When were you involved in the technical agency meetings?
Pardon?
When was that? The technical agency?
Before the 2005 consent decree. And the 2005 consent decree stopped all communication. Before that, CH2M Hill was a contractor for EPA. CH2M Hill was at every meeting. Any of us in the public that wanted to come to these meetings could be there. We'd have meetings like this. CH2M Hill would give their impression of the North End study. And then the WSDs would agree or disagree, and then the state would step in and give their opinion, and our technical advisor would step in and give his opinion. It was an open discussion, and it worked out really well and made things move more in the direction of cooperation and protection of the public's interests. So we're offering this as a suggestion. We'd like to see it move in some sort of a direction. We don't know how the 2005 consent decree is going to affect us wanting to implement this, but we would like EPA to think about it and to see if we can't move in a direction where participation is a little more productive than it is right now. Thank you. So, Chris, what time is it? Let me ask everybody, if you have questions of the slide presentation that Dietrich and Bill put out on the summary from our December 10th meeting when most of the agency people weren't in attendance. Would anybody like to ask some questions on that? Do you have something you'd like Bill and Dietrich to clarify? Well, that was an easy meeting. We enjoyed it, it was good. So if there's no questions about that, I would suggest that we might get out of here early if that's what EPA would like to do. If there's any more discussion that you would like to have, we're more than happy to do that. But tonight was really an opportunity to get to have you hear what we're here about, what we care about, where we'd like to see things go. We welcome all the new people that are on board now. We've enjoyed talking, meeting with Dustin and Colleen, and welcome the new community involvement person. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing things from you. And is there anything else that somebody else would like to bring up tonight?
I just want to thank you again for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here. I do want, again, I'm taking your comments to heart. I do want to improve the processes, so we feel like you're being heard. So
We know, Administrator, we know we're being heard. We're just not being included in what we need. We need things to be done that protect us in our living environment, and we're not doing that. And it would be nice if once in a while, just once in a while, we would like to hear the agency say, huh, that's interesting, we need to look into that.
And I think the other thing is that we really need EPA and the health department to look into and to find out exactly what's going on in the Denver aquifer. It has been drilled, it has been contaminated. To what degree, we don't know. There's been no follow-up, no testing. And so that, to me, is a real issue that we need to put on the table.
So Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
on the dates that we were on there in June,
Yeah.
should we let her, the community development person, will you be helping Jenny with this? Should we give you a little time to get settled in and then you can talk with us, or Janine, what do you have?
If we move the date a week before or a week after the third week, I'm not available. I'm in trouble.
Okay.
This is usually the third Thursday, which just happens to be the second Thursday. So I started out the week in Pueblo and I'm here tonight. So it's just an odd month, but the third Thursday I've had blocked it out for the last 4 years.
Okay.
And I'm happy to help us and also if we have a conflict, so.
But the other thing is there are other places to have the meetings. This isn't the only game in town. So that's what Chris and I were gonna work on.
Right.
Okay, to keep the night, but don't be somewhere else.
If there's no other option, we can,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So I think what we're trying to do is we're saying, we understand Commissioner Baker that in June, that meeting is not available.
There's 3 months where there's a conflict for this space. And I was trying to, I know June is one of them, and I think September is one of them.
Okay.
August, June, August, and September.
Okay.
I think it's May, July, September.
It's May, July, and September.
Is it May?
May, July.
And this is,
Okay.
what you sent out says
That's-
May, July, and September.
That, if it's written down, it's accurate. I was rapidly trying to find it, but thank you, appreciate that. I forgot to bring my.
Well, then I would say the discussion we're having right here, I think we'll be okay. We'll find another place for those nights. I think we need to leave it on that night, because Janine, she handles Bill and Dietrich. Gotcha, guys. So, let's go ahead and leave it that night. We appreciate it. Just thank you so much for getting the report.
No problem.
Margie?
I have a question. Because you've offered people to have questions about the report or the presentation that Dietrich did and that Bill worked on also, and there was nothing, to me, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means everybody was in agreement with it and thought it was right, if everybody thought it was wrong, if we're going to find this that comes back 6 months from now and people say, well, we never gave that any credence. So I don't know what to think right now. And I'm just wondering if anybody wants to talk about it. Well, that's a question too. Did anybody read it?
Well, I understood that Bonnie was talking about the summary of the meeting that we had on December 10th at EPA.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the meeting that we had when Dietrich and Bill were in town, and we had it at night.
Okay, and we weren't there.
And no one came
Okay.
because EPA was.
Okay. So to be honest with you, I haven't spent a lot of time doing that, so I can't ask questions because I haven't spent a lot of time, because we're doing the technical documents, so.
And I appreciate hearing that. That's right. I just wanted to.
That was my question too. Everybody likes to talk along among yourselves, but we don't have a conversation with us to know what people are thinking or saying. And so we put out the summary. We had a very good meeting. Commissioner Baker was there. It was just a really good discussion. And so we were just wondering if anybody, we had some comments in there. The slides were important. They're saying certain things about what our concerns are about the site.
Yeah, and we can certainly go through it and have feedback either at the next meeting or via email or something. We hadn't focused on it yet, as you know, Bonnie. We're coming up to speed on everything right now, so we just hadn't.
You have something, Lynn, that you'd like to add?
No, I'm actually kind of talking to Tom. Oh, we're letting him know if we got. You would send that to Brian, and Brian forwarded that to us. You sent it to Brian Lavasek, and then Brian forwarded it to us.
And we're in the process of looking at it.
Okay, that's great. That's feedback. Thank you.
Well, I would just like to say that given the introductions that took place before we made our comments, everybody in this room is stakeholder to one degree or another. And I would have to echo what Margie has said. This information that Bill and Dietrich provided for us that was really important and very understandable, even for those of us who are not scientists, is really important for all of you to understand where we are coming from, where our basis is. And so I would encourage you, if you have not read this, that you do that, because even if you don't come to another meeting where all of us are together, you're going to have the same information that we have, and that you will understand where we are in a more clear manner. We're not just here to complain. We have real valid input, and it's important that you all know what that input is and understand our position. So I would appreciate it very much if you would take some time. It's not complicated, even I can understand it. And appreciate the work that went into it and where we are with this whole situation, because this is quite a representation here in this room. And it underscores for me the importance of what we're trying to deal with. It isn't just the people that live where the water is coming and the contamination is coming, it's all of us. All of us have a stake here. So I'd like to personally thank all of you for coming. It's nice to meet all of you. And I hope to see you again. We'll find a big room for our meetings.
So, and I will say from the perspective, yes, we did get the copy of the slides that we sent out. We're comparing that information to the information that was presented in the technical meeting during that morning session. In addition, we received the TAG advisors' comments on the North End investigation report. So those are also being reviewed. CDPHE is going to be getting us their comments within the next week or two. At the same time, those comments will be considered And then we'll go through what we call a consolidated document process that our team does. And then we'll get back to you with what our comments are on that. So yes, we did receive them. It has been sent out to my team, to PWT, Tetra Tech. Everyone's going through those notes. So it does take time because we do have so many people looking at them. So we don't have an initial response, but we are looking at them.
Well, we're hoping we need to set up a CAG meeting for us to discuss your response back.
Yeah, we need
and
to.
the state's comments to you. We need, because that was one of the reasons we set this CAG up, so we can have these discussions together and all be on the same page. So I'm looking at maybe the next CAG being a discussion with Dietrich and Bill talking to us, and we'd like to have the meeting be about your response, EPA's response to our questions to Administrator Bennett. And we can talk about that because we got, I'm glad, thank you very much for bringing copies because we should print it out. So thank you. So at the next CAG meeting, we'd like to have that discussion, and Dietrich and Bill can discuss it with us, and then we'll see what else is pertinent on the table at that time too. And then at the next meeting, anybody, we'd love to hear what your feedback. If you have any questions that Dietrich and Bill can answer, that's why they're here, is on any of the slides or the summary or anything.
And then maybe by the next meeting, at the coming meeting, you would probably have your team and all your stuff together do the following one. That'd give you 60 days from that.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be better.
Okay. And then also at some point, I'd like to know your thoughts on this, the administrative something.
We'll take a look.
Okay, I appreciate it. And like I said to everybody, this is on the internet. I think the task force they put together is marvelous. And like I said, we're not pulling back. I told Administrator Benvento, we're moving forward. We're going to continue to try and get help and get EPA to include us in the decision-making process more than we're included now. It's great we get to comment, but we want to have some impact on the decisions. And right now, we feel like the 2005 consent decree eliminates a lot of that possibility. It eliminates us being able to have our technical advisors sit in on the technical meetings. It would be so much less expensive and so much less burdensome if they could be at the meetings and discuss the issues and have the disagreements and try to come to some consensus than what we're doing right now, which is working through the work plans after they've already been decided on. They're already decided. And that's difficult for us to sit here and say, that's equitable. We're living with these chemicals coming down towards our home and our water, and it's okay that we don't have our concerns brought into the technical decisions. It's frustrating for us. So that's where we're at. We're not backing off. We're going to keep moving forward. We aren't trying to cause people heartburn. We know we do, but that's not our purpose. Our purpose is trying to defend ourselves and our environment. That's where it's at. Thank you.
And so if there's someone that didn't get a copy of these questions and answers by email, if we want a copy, see me after the meeting and I'll get your email address and make sure that you get that.
Can I just one thing I wanted to add on, and I know Linda's working on this a little bit, but you'll notice that we don't have facilitation right now, and I think that's something that is important for this K going forward as well. We're going to be pretty on, especially go through. So something we'll hopefully work to resolve in the near future, so that doesn't.
Well, you did a great job tonight.
Yeah. We'll keep doing this. Maybe I just found a new job. Right.
Well, anytime a man sits back and says, you can talk on it, I'm happy. So we did fine. Anyway, again, we thank you for coming, talking to us.
When we spoke to Administrator Benvento, first of all, he made it clear he wasn't going to give us any answers. Sorry, he wasn't going to give us any answers, any questions. This is appropriate. He was gonna get it, eventually, but he couldn't answer them at the meeting. He wanted to know what our concerns was with given. But he also had a lot of questions for us. And to clarify, what I'm asking is, Administrator Something, do you have any questions of us that, the things that we brought up, are you not understanding, or do you need clarifications to some of the concerns that we have?
Well, I certainly have denoted several things that were brought up, and I was planning on following up with my staff to find out what their thoughts are on.
Well, you got a lot on your desk tonight. I think you're right. You have to go back and try to digest all of this.
And Tom, I'll speak to that a little bit too, because I was at that meeting. Just knowing that, as you took, I was there taking copious notes, a lot of what we discussed have already been relayed to Greg. Through the communication with Doug, committed to you guys is that Greg would be the person you would work with moving forward, and that the information provided would be provided to Greg. All the information that was provided. I went through the notes, the comments, the questions, the concerns, the things we've raised. So I would say coming into this meeting, Greg did a little bit more up to speed than maybe Doug was at that point, with at least the direct comments. Because a lot of the comments I heard tonight were consistent with what we talked about in November. So we've had those conversations with Greg coming in tonight, and working on the response and other things that we committed to. And as I said, trying to find ways to continue to hear and understand the community and the CAG, and to find ways where we can meet common ground and build a relationship to continue to work together and improve what we're doing at the site.
Good. I have to say, that was an excellent meeting too, and I have to say, you and Mr. Mutter and Administrator Benevento, that's one of the best meetings the community's had with EPA in years and years. You all paid attention, you took notes, you asked good questions, and we want you to know we really appreciate it, and I'm sure that you didn't have to relay those lots for your administrator, so we do appreciate it. So is everybody in agreement? We can close the meeting? Is that okay with everybody? Or would you
All in
like to
favor?
stay?
Aye.
So if everybody wants to leave happily, go eat something.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
I work for you guys.
Hey, welcome.